It's the Friday Feels, and we're back with your first sip of the weekend. You're now tuned in to this week's episode of Your Happy Hour. I'm your host, Nicole Karmine, and it's amazing to have you here, joining me this week as we uncover the truths about being a human and a working professional. What are you up to this Friday? Well, whatever it is, this moment is just for you. And we're back with another episode on the Feels podcast, the Your Happy Hour series, and this is episode 30 of season 3. It's been one hell of a ride, and you might have noticed that I've taken a little bit of time to put this episode out there. It's been really lovely to take some time for me and to wind down the season in a slow way. And it's been quite a season. I'm so happy to have taken some time to look back at the stats and all the guests and remember all the magical moments that I've had with all of you listening out there. And we've had about 28 guests on this podcast in season 3. It started in December 2025, and to date, we've had listeners from 67 countries, 276 cities, and 8 stacked series bonus episodes with new authors and book features. And it's just been a wonderful journey all the way through repurposing purpose, reconditioning our life, and thinking about the Feels life in a different way. And I found that this season was an extremely heart-opening season for me as your host. For those of you who've just joined me in this final episode of season 3, you'll have to come back in season 4. But I'm Nicole, I'm your host on this podcast, and it remains an incredible honor to be here with you. It's been a 3.5-year journey with the Feels, and as community, as podcast. I didn't think we'd be here today, and here we are. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening all around the world. And I want to give a little shout out to our most listened episode, which was the episode with Egle Pernare. It was called Repurposed Resound. And it was really, really a wonderful episode. So I do recommend to go check it out. And all the books that got recommended on the podcast, we've got one more book today. And it's a really special one. So anyway, let's dive into this episode. Today, I want to talk about the Feels life. We've been talking about the Feels life this whole July. And the reason it's a really wonderful theme to end off our season is we started with thinking about purpose. Why are we here? Why are we living this life as a human on earth? And I'd love to end off with, thinking about how we embody what it is to be human, how we delight and find joy in what it is to be human. And I thought it would be really nice to start off with a narration. These are not my words, but we had a wonderful guest in episode 10 of this season, Aishwarya, and I get her weekly newsletter called The Soul Goddess, and she writes so honestly and so truthfully. Thank you to you for doing what you do in the world and sharing your light. And I'd love to read one of her newsletters to you, and it goes something like this. But healing is not the same as becoming hyper-independent. The first step is not fixing the void. The first step is acknowledging that it exists, feeling it, grieving it, allowing yourself to recognize what was missing, allowing yourself to mourn the mothering you needed and did not receive. Because grief is often the bridge between longing and freedom. And once that grief begins to move, something beautiful becomes possible. You start discovering that nourishment comes from many places. Your friendships, from community, from nature, from beauty, from creativity, from meaningful work, from stillness, from laughter, from being fully present in your own life, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of the ocean, the grounding presence of ancient trees, the quiet reassurance of the earth beneath your feet. Life itself begins to nourish the places that once felt empty, not by pretending the wound never existed, but by helping you remember that the soul teaching of this painful experience that is love was never meant to come from one person alone. And love comes to you from multiple sources. And when that happens, relationships begin to change. Your relationships no longer have to carry this impossible task of completing you. Love becomes lighter, freer, less desperate, less fearful, less exhausting, because your entire life has become a source of nourishment. I find that such a beautiful piece. Thank you again, Aishwarya, for writing so beautifully. And I feel like when I read this, it felt like a bit of the journey that we have taken through the season, a journey of thinking about how we exist in the world, thinking about how we release the tension that's sitting in our body, how we heal, how we use sound to help us. Because I think being human is quite a hard experience, and we have to be graceful with ourselves. We have to honor that this energy that we have is ours alone, but it's collective too. Like she mentioned, it's something to be shared, and we have to give ourselves the space to cleanse our energy, give ourselves the space to share of our energy authentically. And when I look back at our themes for the season, I think of our very first theme in December, Repurposing Purpose, that reminded us that purpose isn't something that we can find maybe once in our life. It's something that we actually cultivate every single day of our lives. Often on the podcast, a book called Habit Stacking has been recommended just for that reason. And so I want to leave you with core questions to ask yourself around each theme. Feel welcome to journal about them when you're listening to this podcast or in another time. When you think of repurposing purpose, who are you becoming? When we think of the theme for January, relieving achieving, the question was really, what are we striving for? Is there only really one path to significance? How can we shed the skin that makes us so worried about achievement in the world? And so our question is, what if success looked different? I think success can only really look different when we're honest with ourselves. And so that was a really nice segue into February, where we spoke about how to honest it up. How are we actually taking space to really be honest with ourselves and inviting us to tell the truth, not just to ourselves, but to the world? How are we showing up in the world? And so what happens when you tell the truth? I think it's hard because we are perfectionists, and society is structured in a way that makes us feel like we have to show up in a certain specific way, and how we taught from our parents and our people that make us who we are to this point in time. But luckily, who we are as humans can change at any single moment in time. And I want to encourage all of us to remember how divinely powerful we are, how we can design our bodies. And in March, we spoke about our human hardware, and we explored how our minds and our bodies are designed for connection rather than survival, for example. Connecting to ourselves, connecting to others, and how we can keep redesigning that, how we can keep molding who we are. And so, how do you feel you are wired to live, to connect, to thrive in the world? I think thriving, to me, my biggest mantra in life is follow your joy. When you are thriving, you are probably most likely following your joy in your life. You're giving yourself permission to trust, to delight in things that make your soul explode and feel on fire. And so maybe our question to ourselves at the end of all of this is, what is your joy trying to tell you? Maybe you don't know what joy is to you in your life. You still have to figure that out. That's okay. And it's a good motivation. And in May, we spoke about just that. So May I Motivate was our theme in May. And joy, I feel, is a wonderful motivation. Instead of the motivations that society gives us of fear and limitations, what about if joy could be that sustainable action driver that helps you grow meaningfully, not in a pressured way? And what would create meaningful, sustainable action in your life? What does that look like on a daily basis with small steps? I say small steps because I think we all kind of put these big goals in front of us. And we spoke about this a lot in the podcast in season 3. How do we break down getting to the things we want to do, but we also look after ourselves at the same time? We spoke about the surprise of self-care in June and how we can reframe the things we want to do and reframe self-care as a stewardship, as a necessity instead of it being an indulgence or afterthought. Because in the end of the day, being human, just existing, just being a healthy human body is the most important thing we have to have an experience. Otherwise, why are we here? And so what would happen if caring for yourself wasn't selfish, but really foundational in your life? And then lastly, we end off this beautiful season with the topic of your feels life. And people often ask me, what does that mean? But what does that mean to you? What is your feels life? What is your best life that you could imagine possibly to have in this lifetime? How do we stop avoiding our emotions and instead let them in and become our teachers in our life? How do we embrace the full spectrum of being a human? It's a gift. It's really a gift to be here. And so across all these 29 conversations, I feel like each conversation, each guest, each story, each experience, each worldview has given us a truth, someone's truth, but maybe a bit of our own too. Maybe a way to connect and not feel as lonely in the world. Maybe a bit of presence that you could feel, or some courage to inspire you. Maybe a moment of compassion, because hell no, we need a lot more of that in life. And I hope it definitely gave you a sense of community, because life's not here to be lived alone, and our feels life is so much better when we share it. And it's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, is how do we create a rainbow tribe? Our feels colors are so colorful for a reason, because it represents every bit of us. In South Africa, we talk about a rainbow nation because we've come together in so many different backgrounds and cultures and traditions, and through hardship, we've become a united nation. We're getting there. But even across the world, even as we are as a collective humanity, we are always looking for a way to connect with each other. How are we living with one another, with the earth, with greater care? And I want to encourage us to also think a little deeper, maybe towards something that talks about our individual rainbow light that we share. If you think about our bodies and what we encompass in our space and that we share with others in the world, we're really just energy, we're really just frequency, and we have these beautiful colors that we take up in the world, because everything is just moving at the same time and held together by intention, by our intention to be here, a choice we made when we came to this world. And every day we get to choose our colors. And Randolph spoke so beautifully about his yellow color in our last episode 29, and what that means for him in his life, the joy that it brings. What is your color? What does your rainbow light look like every day? How can that transport you from one realm to another, allow you to experience this body? And I encourage you to just sit with that. Journal about it. Think about what this beautiful human experience in color means to you. And it was so telling to me that there is a universe where what we speak and how we sound, those energies can reflect into shape. John Stuart Reid was just showing us the evidence of that through the cymoscope, and he did a beautiful DNA signature for me of my voice, and I could see my voice in shape and color. And every day we get to remind ourselves when we look in the mirror that we have a shape, we have a color, we wear clothes, we express ourselves. Maybe we can allow ourselves to change that and evolve that so that whatever we are is full joy, full love. What does that look like for you? And so as we kind of diverge back into our usual segments, I want to say a few final thoughts. To me has been that our love comes from many sources. Our collective wisdom comes from many voices, like we've had on the podcast. But I think our future depends on having all of us come together and bring our gifts into one beautiful collective body of rainbow light. I hope that in season 4, when we unpack a lot of the new themes each month, we can take this idea a little bit further. And there's been so many wonderful things that people have brought to my attention that people are struggling with. And I won't give the spoiler of what we're going to talk about in season 4, but I'm really excited. It starts in December again. We'll take a little break. And then I also want to introduce you to something called Feel Sessions. So we've had the Your Happy Hour, which is one series, the main series of the Feels podcast. But we've also started building the Stack series, which is this mini series of authors and book celebrations. I hope you are reading out there, and if you need some inspiration, check out the Stack. But I'd love to introduce a new series called the Feel Sessions. And so these are a little bit deeper diving into topics that are very close to my heart. And we'll be journeying through a first series and season on this called The Way We Choose, the way we love, the way we work, the way we rest, the way we create, and perhaps the way we connect with each other. So I'm extremely excited to unpack all of this with you. Stay tuned for more on that. And then this wouldn't be a last episode if I didn't at least do a bit of a gem and a people, places, and spaces and a Stack series shout out. So my gem of the week has been that I have been so privileged to be with one of my beautiful loved ones in my life, my mom, who I haven't seen in so long. And again, there's just nothing like the human touch. You can speak on WhatsApp as much as you like, but giving someone a hug, sharing a laugh about something silly, it's a huge gift to share that. And I'm so grateful that I have this with her. And we've also had a wonderful exhibition of her photography and mine, and we were singing together. And so something I also learned this last week was to have grace. Have grace with oneself when sometimes you're not feeling the best and yet you're performing, and it's okay. Focus your intention on the things that matter, the things that mean you are sharing moments with people in the world. And then, of course, rest is really important. Take the rest that you need. So that's been a huge gift, as well as being able to take some rest this week. So it's been a wonderful gem, a wonderful week of treasures for me. And I also want to give a shout out to a people, places, and spaces that I recently stumbled into, when I was really hungry and I needed a croissant because, yes, of course, you need a croissant in Paris. And they called the French bastards. So I just want to say you guys have created such a cool brand. I love the service. I love the vibe. I can't wait to have you on in season 4. I hope I can chat to you about your journey, and a big, big shout out to you. So we just love your feels, guys. Thank you for what you're bringing to the Parisian scene. And of course, our season would not be what it is if it wasn't for our partners. So a big, big thank you to rss.com for helping us distribute this into the world, and for Blender Bombs, who we've partnered with to give you cool discounts, as well as BNE Sim, our traveling sim partner. And so you can reach out to us on the socials if you want to learn more about the discounts on all these platforms. And very last but not least, I'd love to leave you with my stack recommendation. And it's a book I started reading quite a long time ago, and I've actually yet to finish it. It was written in 1945, and this author, Florence Scovel-Shinn, made her book freely publicly available. And it's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And it's really about stepping into the life that you want to live. If you don't have money to buy the gift for someone, buy the wrapping paper. Believe that you can live the life of your dreams, your feels life. And because it's publicly available and I have the PDF, you are welcome to comment on this episode once it drops, and I will send you that copy. So check out on the socials for that coming soon. And I'm just really excited to share this book with you. It's very simply written. And I think some of the most beautiful things in life are exactly that, simple and profound. So thank you for sharing in season 3 with us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your hearts. It's been an immense pleasure to be here, and I recommend that you follow us, share with us. We want to hear all about how you are feeling out there. And feel free to share your answers to the questions of each theme that we went through in season 3. I'd love to hear what you answered, what you responded, what you felt, and unpack that a little bit more with you in season 4. But until then, big love from me, all the way from the bottom of my heart, and so much light and love to you. If you haven't just yet, follow Friday Feels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can share with us all your feels this week by tagging us at fridayfeels.co. And you can also find the website at that handle. And now, as you ease into this weekend, take a moment. Celebrate who you've become, what you've overcome, and what is yet to come as you do the crazy and cool things that you do as the authentic you. You know, the truth about life and work is that it's hard, but the beauty is this global working experience that you're in, well, we earn it together. So keep connecting, empowering, and inspiring this week. And of course, keep it raw and real. Until next time.